What instantly ruins a burger for you? Nothing kills a burger faster than a bad tomato. Poor construction. When it flies out the other end. Stick everything together with a blob of sauce. I do enjoy sauces on a burger, but to a point. If I end up having to hold a soggy mess, I'm not going to enjoy the burger nearly as much. Also tall burgers. The two also go together to make an awful burger experience. Watery old lettuce. One time I got a burger with terrible lettuce. It tasted like it came straight out of a lake. From then I avoid that place saying they have lake lettuce lol. I once ordered a breakfast burger that was advertised as having, among other toppings, egg. I imagine a nice fried egg or at least a scrambled egg patty of sorts. No, the monstrosity that came out had a quartered, hard-boiled egg on it. Just terrible. What self-respecting chef would serve that? Wet unto asked bun. When the patty slips out the other side. People that want to talk while I'm eating a burger. Being too big to fit in your mouth. Pointless. Might as well just throw it all on a plate, and call it deconstructed burger. If I can't bite it without the entire thing losing structural integrity. Related, giant patties suck. Multiple thin patties are the way to go if you want a meaty burger. Excessive height. When they cost $20 plus. When the tomato has that hard area in the middle, the core I guess. Gross. A bad tomato. Tomatoes can be great when they're fresh and crisp. But when they're all soggy, they ruin anything they touch. Bits of bone. I regularly bite down on these at Camino. I kept giving them the benefit of the doubt and tried again multiple times, but I haven't been back in a while because of it. How did somebody you know ruin their life in one day? In college, my ex's friend was pulled over for speeding. He had drugs and alcohol in his system, and when the cop reached in his truck to grab the keys, he panicked and took off, thinking the cop would let go. The cop did not let go, and was dragged for quite a ways before eventually falling to the ground and hitting his head, resulting in his death. My ex's friend was charged with capital murder and sentenced to 20 years in a Mississippi state prison. 21 years old and ruined his entire life in one night. A buddy from high school blew through a stop sign and hit a couple of motorcyclists, killing them both. He didn't stop to render aid and fled the scene. He was busted for vehicular manslaughter, and spent 12 plus years in prison. He's lucky he can work for his dad, because where he lives now is not kind to felons trying to rehabilitate. Friend's son was with his recently engaged fiancée who had a serious nut allergy. They were driving not far from Bendigo. They stopped off at a cafe to buy sandwiches. The woman running the cafe assured them there were no nuts anywhere near the sandwiches, so they bought them, then went on their way. Driving out away from town, she was nibbling on the sandwiches when she struggled to breathe. He stopped the car, got out, figured what was going on, went to the back of the car to get her EpiPen, which he struggled to find, but by the time he did find it she was dead. A couple of weeks after the funeral, he got in his car, drove it back to the stretch of roadside where she died, put his foot down on the accelerator and deliberately aimed his car at a power pole. He'd left his mum a note. Addendum: for anyone wishing to blame someone for this, I need to make it clear that the contamination turned out to be an accidental tainting of a bread batch. The cafe owner did not know about it, nor did the bakery until this incident. Stood in the wrong place. He was stood in a bar minding his own business and a fight broke out. He caught an accidental blow to the back of the head and caught his head on a wall on the way down. He never woke up. More like a day horribly altered my life. I was a teacher and coach. For a field trip the principal could not afford 2 buses. So I had to walk about 10 girls to the field trip location, and back to school, while the one bus was filled with the rest of the junior high students and faculty. About a mile each way. I chose the girls of my team because they would listen to me outdoors, unlike lots of middle school kids. While crossing the street in the crosswalk, with the walk signal in our favor. All the kids went first, and like girls they're clumped together and chatting while walking. I noticed a woman made a left turn into our crosswalk and never saw us as she tried to accelerate to beat an oncoming car. I knew she was going to run right through the girls. I pushed the kids forward, very forcefully. Most of the girls fell onto the pavement in front of other vehicles waiting at their red light. They were badly scraped up, like road rash from me pushing them. But no hospitals or doctors were needed for their scrapes. I don't remember the impact. I remember seeing a Pontiac symbol between the headlights. I came to, and I was in a whole different lane, and facing where I had just come from. I could not get up. They say my body went up the car, and off the driver's side, tearing the side mirror off the car and breaking her windshield. Horror and sobbing from my student athletes. The girls raised me onto a backboard when the ambulance came, which must have been traumatic. Now, 20 years later, I am still an ambulatory wheelchair user. Can't teach or coach. Can't work at a desk. I have chronic pain. Yes, my life can be really sucky, but I would not change what I did that day. When I get low emotionally from all my limitations, I remember those girls. I watched them go to college, get married, grow into mothers, and hold impressive jobs in their fields. And when they show a photo on FB of their happy moment, it recharges me to know they are safe, healthy, and happy. And it reaffirms my decision to save them from harm. I distantly know somebody who tried to cross the US-Can border without declaring $10,000 in cash, which led to them searching all his stuff and finding no porn on his computer. He's in jail. Guys got drunk in HS, drove off the highway, didn't make the turn at 90 miles per hour, 5 dead. My friend's brother got too drunk, got violent. Cops came and he fought them. Once restrained, he started threatening to find and kill their children. Never seemed to get his life back on track after that. Had a friend from high school who decided to opt out by jumping off the roof at his mom's house. He landed in such a way that he survived, but is now paralyzed from the chest down, as in, can't even breathe for himself and fully reliant on home health aides and his mom, whom he despised and named as the reason he wanted out of life. It's fair that she was a full-blown heroin addict at this point and was a shit show herself. He had just turned 19. Summer after her senior year. Dad owns a very lucrative lumber sales and construction company. He got a brand new truck for graduation, and was going to start his job after summer ended with his dad. Trained to be a foreman, and basically be set for life on a path to retire extremely comfortably by the age of 55. He decided to take a bunch of pills and ran a red light. T-boned a car, killing the driver instantly and crippling the passenger for life. He got off with vehicular manslaughter because his dad forked out big money to get the charges lessened. He served 13 years and got out last year. He just walks around the town now because he can't get work, own a license or vehicle. Guy I knew in uni was inebriated and decided to try and clear a very tall spiked wrought iron fence. He impaled his balls and did not get to keep them. A 19-year-old guy in Sydney ate a slug for a dare. Got rat lungworm disease. Went into a coma for 18 months, woke up a vegetable confined to wheelchair needing 24-hour care. Died about 10 years later. From eating a single slug. Worked in Seattle airport and a coworker decided to take his own life by stealing an airplane, fly it in loops around the Pacific Northwest airspace while being chased by the Air Force until finally going nose down. Tried to kill themselves by jumping off a bridge, survived, paralyzed from neck down. Edit, it was a female. A week ago, my little sister slipped on the ice getting out of her car and hit her head. She didn't think much of it when she had a pounding headache later, figuring she just whacked herself good. Her friend told her to just sit down and take it easy until she started slurring her words roughly 10 hours after the fall. They called an ambulance for her, but she was going into cardiac arrest. Turns out she'd stopped taking her blood thinners she was supposed to be on for clotting issues. The headache wasn't the fall, it was the clot in her leg cutting off blood to the brain. At the age of 26, she never recovered and leaves behind a 4-year-old and 2-year-old. Serious, what's something that mentally and/or emotionally broke you? Hearing my mom ask if it was going to hurt to die. Few minutes later she took her last breath. Squeezed my hand in a slow release. Am I okay? Nah. A year and a half later I'm still not. When I found my fiancé dead on the ground after I came home from work. I was 22 at the time and it broke me in all the ways. Having a mother with schizophrenia. Such a tough illness for someone to experience, and tough on a family. Finding my twin brother dead. Filing my dad's bankruptcy, getting him diagnosed for early onset Alzheimer's/dementia, and being his primary caregiver. It completely reverses the father/son role in a way I was not prepared for. Better now, but still is heartbreaking. My little cousin, 19, hung himself in October. That feeling of holding his cold body as I cut him down from his noose will forever haunt me. I dream of it often. I was in therapy and was nervous about my child's upcoming birthday party because of serious anxiety issues. She told me to imagine the worst thing happening, and when the party is over I would realize everything was okay. Day of birthday party, I received an out-of-state call from a coroner. My mom was found dead in her apartment. An investigation occurred, but it was determined she had a diabetic episode, hit her head on the kitchen counter, bled out and died. An hour later my friend arrived, hysterically crying, indicating she just got a call her mom died. I was numb and broken. Life has never been the same since. My fiancé died the day after we got engaged. Edit, you guys are alright. I've been working all day, but I'll fill in some details when I get home. For now I'll say there were no drugs or alcohol involved. She was fine, then sick, then gone in less than 24 hours. To those with sincere words, I truly appreciate it. To those making jokes, bring it on. Humor is one of the ways I've coped with things through the years. Edit 2, this shit's a downer, so don't read if you're not up for it. She died of meningitis. We spent an awesome day together while she was back in town from college, and I asked her that afternoon. Later, she said her legs were going numb and her back hurt. We went to the hospital because they had just had a whole presentation about the symptoms of meningitis at her school. The doctor did some tests and said everything was negative L, so they sent us home. We went to bed thinking everything would be fine. I woke up sometime around 2 a.m. and looked at her. She was covered in sweat and turning blue, so I picked her up and carried her to the car. We hauled ass back to the ER, but she stopped breathing before we got there and didn't regain consciousness again. At least I was holding her hand the whole way. The doctor did say they got her heart started a couple times, but all of her organs failed and her body completely shut down, so they had to call it. Later, they asked if I wanted the ring. But they said they had to cut it off because her body had swollen so much. I told them to keep it because I wouldn't have been able to handle what it meant if it was in one piece. To answer the other obvious question, I'm as alright as I get. Lately I've been thinking about our first days more than the last one. It's hard to tell if that makes it better or worse though. Relationships are hard. Anytime things get too good, there's a compulsion to pull away for self-preservation. There's no making it through of another round of that. Thank you all again for your kind words and thoughts, and jokes. Pay attention to how you feel and listen if someone tells you something is wrong with them. Finally, tell the people that matter to you how you feel as often as you can. I'm a nurse and I've seen so many awful things, but for whatever reason one that sticks with me and pops up in my memories often happened in nursing school. I was doing clinicals, student nurse working in hospital, and my patient's son had died in a car wreck the night before and the family was coming to tell him during my shift. When they arrived I stepped out to give them privacy, but I heard his cry. The sound a parent makes when they are told their child is dead is something that will chill you to the bone. He also happened to be on telemetry, a heart monitor, and I was watching his rhythm when he got the news. He threw several PVCs and I swear it was like watching his heart break. When the police told me my fiancé had been killed by a drunk driver immediately outside of our neighborhood. It didn't help that the police lost the driver in the hospital, letting him escape for about 30 hours. Edit, I was fortunate to have a great network of friends and family to support me. Part of what really helped me was giving up on the idea of justice or that things can be made right. That helped me sever the tie to the accident, acknowledge my fiancée and remember her for her life and not her death. Additionally, my parents and I established a scholarship, in my fiancée's honor for students like her, young women in STEM fields. That helped me keep her memory alive and salvage some of the goodness in the world we lost when she was taken from us. Watching my grandma on my mom's side go through hospice. I have never seen a human slowly deteriorate like that. I was happy to think I would get to spend some time with her and comfort her because the year prior my other grandma died unexpectedly and I never got to say bye. As each day went on she slowly lost any ability to think or properly communicate to the point that it was like her mind was already gone. When she was close to death she was making these gargling sounds that sounded like she was drowning. That sound alone is something I will never forget. It was the worst experience of death I have ever experienced. It was literally watching a person you loved just slowly fade away mentally. The amount of weight she lost in just those few days. Toxic families leave people broken for a long time. Seeing someone whom you had complete faith in, just switch on you and actively try to hurt you. My sister attempted suicide and I cut her down from the ceiling while my parents stood in shock. I called 911 and had to perform CPR until first responders arrived, Knowing I'm the only one in my family who can function semi-well under intense pressure freaked me out bad. I still don't sleep well, and that was almost 3 years ago. Sexual assault. I couldn't leave after because I had my first panic attack on his bathroom floor. Made me feel so trapped. All I wanted to do was get the hell out, but I couldn't move. 8 years later I still get them frequently. The anxiety doesn't leave you, I guess.